What's good, everybody? The ambassador here with theme Park ERT. And today we're doing something a little bit different. We've always mentioned, if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, that we like to have the acronym ERT stand for a whole bunch of different things. It could stand for, well, of course, we do the Enthusiast Roundtable. It stands for exclusive ride time. And we also wanted it to stand for like engineers and ride ops and thrill seekers and technicians and executives and entertainment. And today we want to welcome a very special guest who we're going to pull back the curtain to see all things magical what this individual has done. I think you'll be impressed. So join me and John. Hey, John, how are you doing?
How's it going, everyone?
And welcoming a very special guest, we have got Mr. Ethan Reed. What's up, Ethan? How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. It couldn't be better. You know,
Doing
it's
great.
not 117, so we're happy. We are happy.
Yeah, it's been nice and cool today.
Yes.
It's 120 outside.
Right. So for those of you who are watching who don't already have your jaws hitting the floor seeing that we've got awesome Mr. Ethan Reed here on our show, Ethan, why don't you explain who you are and what you do?
Well, I am Ethan Reed, and I have been an Imagineer for about 20 years. I started when I was still a student at CalArts, California Institute of the Arts, which was the Walt Disney Endowed School in Valencia, California. Mm-hmm. And I studied animation there. And, you know, my goal was to make it as an animator, be a great animator. And I thought maybe in my 50s, when I was 50 years old, I might be good enough to get into Imagineering. So, but somehow I leapt out and I got hired as an animator at Imagineering my junior year at CalArts. So, yeah.
That is awesome. CalArts is just in our backyard. That's where we live up here in Valencia. So we love that school. We know that school well. That's so cool. And so I know you said you wanted to be an Imagineer when you were in your 50s. How long have you actually? I'm sure you're not 50 yet. If you are, you look amazing, and give me your secret. But how long actually have you been doing it?
Well, so like I said, they were looking for animators for Tokyo Disneysea in like 1998, and they came up to CalArts for Portfolio Day, and, you know, I was put on the callback list for Disney Animation Studios, and, you know, I had some CG experience at the time, and they were looking for people to do CG because they were starting on everyone's favorite Disney film, Dinosaur. And,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's a classic.
I've got it on Laserdisc.
Right? Yeah, I think I have it on DVD. I think I actually bought it. But anyhow, they were doing these interviews at CalArts, and there was this one lady who had this, VCR TV combo like hooked up in the main gallery at CalArts, and they're showing audio animatronic performances from the parks. And I was a huge Disney fan. One of the first things I did when I went to CalArts was I got an annual pass to Disneyland, and I would go to Disneyland probably once a week. I might have missed a couple of my, classes. Never a drawing class,
Right,
yeah. Those other classes. But I had a great time. We go to the park. Like I said, I was just a huge fan. Mark Davis was my idol, and I went up to the lady. I showed her my portfolio. She's like, "Wow, this is good stuff. We're just hiring an intern right now. So if you're interested, give us your stuff." So I did, and they called me in for what was a 3-day test, and I was brought to our Tahunga facility. Which, if you guys are familiar with Zootopia,
right?
There's Tahunga and Vine is one of the signs in that film, because Walt Disney Animation Studios was actually headquartered at Tahunga at that time, which was the former WDI Tahunga facility. So I was brought in there. They had what was called an animation training lab, and they had an A100 figure. Which was a hydraulically controlled figure that was just like sitting in this big dark room. And there was this console in front of me, and I had to figure out how to animate this robot. I had never done anything like that before in my life. And we were given, there was a CD, and CDs, it was the 90s, right?
Sure.
It was a programming CD, so it had SMPTE time code on one of the other tracks, and it was called Pieces of Eight. And there was 8 different pieces of dialogue from existing audiomatronic characters in the park. So I picked the Wicked Witch of the West from the Great Movie Ride, because I'd never been on the attraction. I hadn't been to Walt Disney World since 1986. And I think they had just re-released The Wizard of Oz in the theaters for like its 75th anniversary.
Oh,
so I
okay, sure.
seen it. So Margaret Hamilton's performance was fresh in my mind, and I just wanted to animate the witch. So I did, and they liked me, and they said, they'd like me to come in 2 days a week, starting in, so I think I did that test in October, and then in January I started coming in 2 days a week. And it was, it was really great, because it was my senior year at Cal Arts. I actually did not finish my final animated film, because I was learning how to animate audiomatronics instead.
Sure.
Anyhow, so it was super fun, and it was kind of loose. 2 days a week. My boss asked me, "Oh, how are you enjoying it?" I said, "Oh, it's pretty good." It's like, "Would you like to come in 3 days a week?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I started coming in 3 days a week, and then I graduated. And after I graduated, I went into my boss's office. I'm like, "So, do you want me to come in full time?" And she's like, "Would you like to?" I'm like, "Yes." So that's kind of how it happened. And what was it, like a month after I graduated Cal Arts, I was actually up in Santa Clarita off of Hazley Canyon Road, which is near Castaic, if you guys are familiar with that. And you guys said you guys were up here. We had a big giant warehouse, and we had all of Sinbad for Tokyo Disneysea staged in that facility, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It was just a great big staging facility. So it was so funny to me, because it's like, you could see Magic Mountain like from like the building. And I just remember like walking out, taking breaks. It's like, man, if people knew what was going on in here, like we've got Tokyo Disneysea in your backyard, and you're going to Magic Mountain.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway. That's so crazy. Like, it's just there is a lot of storied history with the Santa Clarita, area. But you're speaking of Cal Arts, and a lot of people don't realize the A113. I mean, did you go to class A113?
Absolutely, yes.
See, it's a little Easter egg, and stuff like that. People just don't even realize that it's there. That's like one of those same stories. That's so great. And so, did you ever have like a moment going to these parks where you were fascinated by the audio animatronics, or like was there any sort of instant that kind of sparked a bug in you or anything like that? Or
I mean, I was, definitely, my family and I, we went to Walt Disney World in 1986, and first time going to Walt Disney World. We'd of course been to Disneyland before, being from the Bay Area, and it was Journey to Imagination was a huge thing for me. The American Adventure was very inspiring. I was pretty young. I was probably like 8. And Ben Franklin walking up the stairs. It's like, is that real or is that a robot? I didn't know, right? So that was definitely inspiring. I do remember watching videos on Disney Channel, and they used to have like these behind the scenes videos on Disney Channel, and they would like interview some of the animators and programmers who did like Epcot. And I just remember like looking at these guys sitting behind these animation consoles with all these blinky lights on it. And I just thought, that seems really difficult. I don't know if I'd be able to do something like that. So it seemed way out there to me. So I thought it was interesting, but I drew, right?
Sure.
I realized that people like Bill Justice, who designed Chip and Dale, also animated Pirates of the Caribbean, and the list goes on. But Bill Justice was actually somebody who I got to meet, and one of my favorite memories is he invited my wife and I to join him down at Disneyland when he got his window on Main Street. So that was very special.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's
crazy.
so cool. I think one of the things, and please explain it a little bit. What I find fascinating is a lot of people don't realize that there is a human, i.e., you, sitting at the controls animating these characters. I'm sure a lot of people just thought, oh, line of code, hit enter or something. You know what I mean? So, can you go into that a little bit? How does that process? How does that work?
Well, so I mean, I have not animated since 2013. The last attraction I animated was Mystic Manor for Hong Kong Disneyland.
Cool. Yeah.
But that was, I think, yeah, you think you don't see the person behind it, right? Which is good. But, you know, like Ursula, I animated Ursula for Little Mermaid at Disneyland. And
we're not worthy.
Right. So like, you know, I did that and it was super fun. And, you know, it was about pushing the technology to meet the story intent. Right. So I think there's, you know, if you go back to the history of Imagineering, how it was founded, Walt took his animators. He took his background designers. They all had a background in animation. John Hench, right? Mary Blair, Mark Davis. At one point, I remember doing a lecture with Marty Sklar at Feature Animation with one of my other mentors, Joanne Cicero, who he was the overall creative guy on Mystic Manor. The three of us went over to Disney Feature Animation and we talked about how animation leads to theme park design. Because really, there were amusement parks before Disney, but there was no themed park. There was no themed entertainment until Walt brought those storytellers from animation, you know, from the film business into that arena.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think that's the magic behind it. And just like you said, you know, the fact that you don't realize there's a person behind it is the goal. But we're grateful to have, like I said, pulling back the curtain and being able to see, you know, amazing, talented artists like yourself, animators and editors and people like that, where it's supposed to be seamless. And John and I don't think that you are recognized enough. And that's one of the main reasons also for the show is to like, we really want to, you know, as enthusiasts, as theme park enthusiasts, as Disney enthusiasts, as roller coaster and crazy enthusiasts, we really do owe people like yourself a huge thank you for making that experience that makes you want to come back, that makes you have
creating the magic, that makes you want to come back all the time.
That feeling that you take away and that you think about in your head the next morning, you know, is what you do. So I absolutely love it. And so I want to also kind of ask about your process. How long does a project normally take from like conception to, you know, building it to completion? Like, what does that normally take?
Well, I think it depends on the project and the complexity of it. I think one of the longest, I mean, they're all about the same amount of time. Like Mystic Manor, I started working on in 2008 and we opened that in 2013. So that was, you know, from concept through completion, that was about a 5-year cycle till opening day, like letting guests in there. But there are some other attractions which are, you know, have been shorter. Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek at, I'm sorry, not Ride and Go Seek. That was the other one I worked on. That's the one in Tokyo. The one in Anaheim, Monsters Incorporated, Mike and Sully to the Rescue. That one we did in 18 months.
Wow. Well, I mean, it was a conversion, but
it was a conversion.
Right.
So, you know, I worked on Sinbad, right? That was my first attraction I did for Tokyo Disneysea. But I was the young guy. I was the new guy. So after we were done with Sinbad, I needed to do something. And I worked on California Adventure. I got to work on Muppet Vision 3D, which was super fun. I got to animate the penguins and that stuff. I also got to work on another attraction, Superstar Limo. But you know, it was a thing. But
hey, look, Drew Carey is very, very appreciative of your work.
Well, it's so funny. The Drew Carey, we had an executive who I love who would come and buy everything off, and he got really focused in on the Drew Carey sculpt, and wasn't liking. We had our head of sculpting come over, and we had some guy redo his teeth, do all this, we spent so much time on this Drew Carey, and then we had another bunch of executive reviews, and they're like, just doesn't look like Drew Carey. So they made the decision to remove to redo the head sculpture. So they did that, and when they did it, it's like we already had the fiberglass head. And it's like, I want to keep that. So for years, I had that head in my office, and I put all of my show set drawings and things I needed for other attractions in there. And then when we were doing Monsters, we had to, my job was actually, one of my jobs on Monsters was redesigning all of those celebrities into the CDA agents. Right. So if you remember Monster House, which was on the Learning Channel or whatever at the time, I was doing Monster Figure, right? It's like, oh, we're gonna take this, and we had guys carving foam with electric kitchen knives that your grandma used at Thanksgiving and stuff, right? And so it was just, we had a lot of fun, and we I did quick sketches. I sent them to the designers at Pixar, and they give me little notes and stuff, and then at the end we have the CDA agents that are in there. But that was that was a fun attraction because it was so quick, and it was very loose, and we just had fun. And Pete Docter and a lot of the guys from Pixar, they would come down. The head character designer, I worked with him. Their sculptors. It was just so much fun, and they were a part of our team, an extended part of the team. One of my favorite things in there is where Smitty and Needleman are, and they're at the time card thing. Yeah. There was a blank wall, and me and the overall creative director were riding through it one day. I'm like, there's this blank wall. There's nothing there. And Wire Noose wasn't in the attraction. There was no nod to him at all. So I, was watching the film, and it's like, oh, there's that portrait of Water Noose where Randall pops out and all that stuff. So I just sent a note to Pete, and I'm like, hey, do you have this asset? And he did, and it was sent to me, and we got it printed up and put it in the frame, and a couple screws, and it's still there.
That's amazing. Also, everybody who goes and rides that ride in California Adventure, which my son, who's 5 years old, loves, by the way, he loves that show, and he loves the ride. Let's next time you see that that portrait, just gonna be like, and Ursula too. I mean, for heaven's sake. I mean, it seems like you got your fingers in a lot of things. What would we recognize if, say, Disneyland miraculously opened up to us tomorrow, and we could ride things? Where would we see Disneyland exceed at DCA? Where could we see your handiwork?
Well, let's see. If you start at Disneyland, you just make a right and go sit down in the Lincoln Theater. I animated Abraham Lincoln, and
just the main character.
I animated Abe, and it was actually the second time I animated Abe. The first time was when we did the binaural show. So and that was fun. And so I've animated Lincoln 3 times now. So I did it at Walt Disney World. I've done it twice in Anaheim. So yeah, that Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger Spin, I animated attraction. I helped my buddy who was the main programmer for Stars Tours. We had the what was it? We've moved it. It used to be on the main campus of WIA. It was called the Simulator Building, and it had a Star Tour simulator in it, and it was just in our parking lot. And we were doing pre-programming for the Star Tours Adventure Continues. So he was programming the vehicle. I had a little downtime. Huge Star Wars fan, so it's like, hey, let me help you out with the programming. It's not much different than a figure. So jumped in there, and we actually figured out how to hook up a Waldo or a steering wheel, right, to the motion base of the flight simulator.
Okay.
And that was super cool. So we had previs animation, and we were able to actually fly. Like,
Wow.
So it's like, imagine sitting in the Star Speeder and having
controls.
The control.
So I did the pre-programming for the Hoth scene, which was super fun.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, I Finding Nemo, I was one of the production designers on that attraction. I art directed every single figure in that show.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just like making my way around the park.
Sure, I'm right there with you. I know where we are now.
Yeah, so I think that's it on that side of the park. Pirates of the Caribbean, I animated Barbossa, Jack Sparrow. Yeah, I animated tons of stuff at Disneyland. But like, as far as, I think the only thing I've ever really, had any leadership role on was the Nemo subs. And then across the way, Mermaid, animated that entire show. And then Monsters, of course. So yeah. Most of my work has been in Asia, though.
Pretty much everywhere.
In Asia.
Yeah. Asia.
Right.
So Tokyo Disneysea, Sinbad attraction. I just a year ago I was in Japan art directing our mini style studio, which is a meet and greet experience like Meet Mickey at Toontown.
Oh, so, got it.
Yeah, so that was what I was doing last year. So yeah, I've done lots.
I just saw they made a Olu plush. Olu plush at Shanghai. That was really cool.
Yeah, so all of and that's the other thing. I mean, it's not really stateside. Duffy and Friends. So I designed Gelatoni, Stella Lou, Cookie Ann. I oversaw the development of Olu Mel, as we call him now. And so I'm very entrenched with Duffy and Friends, and I love Duffy and Friends.
What I absolutely love about bringing on guests like yourself is just seeing the excitement and the passion come through these stories. I mean, you tell these stories probably 1,000 times, but what I love about it, and hopefully that our viewers like about this, is just seeing that excitement in your eyes when you start talking about, it brings us there with you. I mean, there I was in that warehouse with you in Valencia, you know what I mean? I absolutely love that. So do you have like a favorite memory of working, whether it's production design, whether it's animation, like a favorite memory that is just in those moments when you need a happy thought? Let's go Splash Mountain's theme. Where's your laughing place?
Yeah, I guess, my favorite attraction that I worked on has got to be Mystic Manor. So Mystic Manor, I started on that in 2008. I was in the middle of animating Mr. Potato Head for Toy Story Mania. And I had served as the art director on the production of that figure. I'd been on Mr. Potato, because he's an interactive figure and he pulls his ear off and does all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was on that for a very long period. And when I got the, ask if I'd like to come, help out on Mystic, I was like, well, absolutely. I also worked on Grizzly Gulch as well. So I worked on that whole Hong Kong expansion, but Mystic is incredibly special because we had a very tight little team, and that team, started at the top with Joe Cicero, who, he was in charge of Cruise Line for years. He was in charge of Tokyo Disneyland for years and Hong Kong Disneyland. So in fact, I think when we started on Mystic, he was running Cruise Line and all the Disney parks creatively in Asia. Because Shanghai was not a thing yet. So anyhow, it was a great team. We'd all worked on Monsters, Ride and Go Seek for Tokyo together. We had Monica, who is a fabulous color stylist. I'd worked with her, way back on Sinbad. It was just a really good collection of people, and we had such a great time. I mean, all the teams are great, but that one was incredibly special. It was also nice because it wasn't, I love the IP. I love Star Wars. I love, the Disney, classic films. But getting to create your own universe, create your own characters, that is special. That's what Mark Davis and those guys got to do on Pirates and Haunted Mansion. So, I got that opportunity, and it was super special. So I love that.
And, that ride is beloved. And I think that's one of the main reasons why that ride is beloved, is because it's something fresh and it's something new. Not only is it just magical in its interaction in the entire ride, but I think people really enjoy that new wonder of, hey, I haven't seen this before, like what's coming next. At least from I personally have never been to Disneysea yet, but or it's any of the Asian Disneylands, but for the people who have been, they say that Mystic, man, is just like, it's number 1 or number 2 best themed dark ride in the world.
Right. It is the highest rated dark ride on YouTube.
There you go. I mean,
got it on YouTube.
Hey, listen, that's got to bring you at least a smile and at least a huge sense of satisfaction just seeing that. I mean, because I'm sure going into this, you're loving it, but you're seeing it every single day. You know what I mean? And you're still loving it, and you just kind of, that anticipation of, are the guests going to enjoy it?
Yeah, and it's like, I think I always try to find, I had fun working on Superstar Limo, right? So I find fun in whatever I'm doing. And, it's like, but there are certain projects, it's like, do I raise my hand? And, I was brand new when I was on Superstar Limo. Did I want to raise my hand? Oh yeah, I wanted to raise my hand.
Of course.
But on Mystic, I never really, I raised my hand a few times and we made some adjustments and things, but I mean, it's just, I never felt that what we were doing was compromised at all. It was just pure. And if someone had an issue with something, it would just get discussed in the group, right? It's like it was just the most democratic attraction I've ever worked on, I guess. It's just super fun.
That's awesome. I mean, congratulations. I mean, that's it's just so fun to hear and to learn about that passion that you have for those projects. And it's great advice for any future Imagineer, any future animator, to kind of have that same type of attitude and to seek out that type of environment, work environment, and regardless of the industry, really. If you like what you're doing and you have that kind of symbiotic, kind of like relationship with your coworkers, things will go swimmingly. And speaking about enthusiastic, have you had a chance to visit every single Disney park in the world?
Yes, finally. So when I started in 1999, Disneyland Paris was pretty new, right? It had only been open, 5 years. So I was certain that I would get to go to Disneyland Paris. So, my first business trip was to Tokyo. That's not true. My first business trip was to Disneyland, working in Pirates of the Caribbean. My second business trip was to Walt Disney World, working on Countdown to Extinction, now called Dinosaur. And then my first big business trip was to Japan for Tokyo Disneysea. And that was fantastic. And, just love Japan. And it's such a great park. So I was certain after I finished Tokyo Disneysea that I would get to go to Paris or something. And I don't think, I worked on Buzz Lightyear for Paris. I did all the animation here of the figures. But by the time they needed me in the field, I was well into doing my art direction duties on the Monsters attraction for California Adventure. So I was not able to leave that and go do the install in Paris. I finally got to go to Paris 2 years ago for Disney Fan Days convention. They wanted me to talk about Duffy and Friends. So I got to go out to Paris, and it was fantastic. It's a beautiful park. And if you've been to, I always gauged everything from, Tokyo Disneysea, right? It's like everything had this, this level of, finish and polish, and everything just looked so great. And, I'd never seen anything like that in our like at Disneyland at the time, right? Cars Land and everything we've done since absolutely has that level of detail and, beautiful rock work. Going off to Paris and seeing Paris, really, Disneyland Paris is the park that set that bar. And Tokyo Disneysea is, it follows that mold, like in placemaking and detail.
That's that. And so having been to all of them now, and I'm going to include amusement parks too. What are your favorite types of rides?
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like my favorite, because I've been thinking about this. I've been watching, since lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to call it, COVID-19, since 2020. We have, my family and I, we spent a lot of time watching YouTube videos on theme parks, and there's some great ones out there, and love the historical ones. Half the time I'm sitting there like screaming at the TV. I'm like, that is not what happened. But I love hearing about like the old parks though. And but my favorite non-Disney park has got to be Legoland in Carlsbad.
Hey,
I love that park. I think it's charming. The rides they're charming, right? And it's like, I think that's what I love about Disneyland. I love Fantasyland. I love dark rides. And Legoland, they've got the Ninjago ride. They've got the Pharaoh's Quest, the shooting game ride. They're fun, but there's just something quaint about walking around the models, seeing the Lego models, going on the cruise, right, around all those Lego models. It's just peaceful and relaxing. Plus, it's by the beach, and I'll stay at a hotel down there with the family, and we'll spend some time at the beach, and then go to the park. It's just relaxing, right? So I really enjoy relaxing, and like Alani is probably my favorite Disney thing right now. Like of any parks, everything. Love Alani. It's fantastic. And it's really funny. I went to Alani 4 years ago. We were staying down the street at the Marriott, and we walked over there to check it out. And it just it's like, it's nice, but the lobby didn't seem as grand as I was expecting. I expected some big, like Walt Disney World size lobby.
Sure.
And but it was 2 years ago we finally decided, hey, we'll stay there. And the minute we checked in and like getting welcomed into the lobby and the whole experience, like you want it to have the smaller lobby, right? Because it feels like you're part of the family, the Ohana. So I really think what Joe Rohde and his team did at Alani is just fantastic.
Yeah, I've heard great things out of sister who stayed in Alani, and also shout out to my mother-in-law who works at Legoland down in Carlsbad. So she'll be tickled to death to hear that you said that.
Very cool.
She takes a lot of pride in the charmingness of that park. So that's so cool. Are there any parks, and this could be worldwide, are there any parks that you'd like to get to? Like, what's your bucket list parks?
I really, it's funny. I haven't taken my kids to Knott's Berry Farm yet. We've had the chicken dinner, right? We've stopped there on the way to Legoland.
Yeah.
But we've never, I've never taken the kids in there. And, I know that, Garner Holt Productions has done a lot of work on Calico Mine Train and the Timber Mountain Log Ride and Bigfoot Rapids. I'd love to see that. And very excited to see the Knott's Berry Tales upgrade to their VR attraction.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
I loved Berry Tales when I was a kid. So getting to experience it in some form will be fantastic.
I think it's going to be a hit.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's see, Efteling, obviously. I'd love to go there. But just watching all these videos online, it's like, I really need to go out and just visit some more of these regional parks. Because Legoland is so, I enjoy it so much, and it's just simple. So, and that's the thing that we always, it was something we kept saying. That was one of our mantras on Mystic Manor and a lot of our shows. It's like, keep it simple, right? You have to, what is the story, the core thing you want your audience to know? What's the story point you're trying to get across? What's the emotion you want your guests to feel? I mean, those are all things, that, I asked myself as a designer, we asked our team during Mystic. So if I think people want to go out, they want to go do things. I know I want to go back to theme parks bad. So yeah, definitely. A year ago, I was at Sanrio Puroland. So that was on my bucket list. And I finally got to go to Puroland in Japan, which was pretty fantastic. It was not relaxing, but it was a thing. They had a dark ride. I kind of enjoyed it. And it was like a rental car company type of, it's like, it was like My Melody, which is like the Hello Kitty character that has like pink bunny ears, but she's not a bunny. So, but you started at a rental car counter that she had, and then you ended up in a time machine. And it was actually, the story, I mean, I didn't understand the thing they were saying, and the story just seemed all over the place. But visually, I kind of liked how it was set up because they were flats, but they were animated flats. Oh, okay. So if you think of like the Toad flats, think of like, sharper graphic style, Hello Kitty, but with some, interesting, bits of animation to them. So more like a, Hanna-Barbera cartoon from like the 50s, right? So, and I think that is something that I'm definitely, interested in. It's like, how can you tell stories differently in an attraction? I mean, one of the things we did, when I helped lead up the efforts on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So doing, bringing those dwarfs to life. I didn't actually animate those figures, but I was the animation creative director on it. So, I had teams doing mock-ups, how we were going to bring these characters to life.
It seems like not only WDI and things like that, but Universal and things like that, we're trying to push the boundaries of that interaction between guest and ride. And I really like you're saying, trying to find a new style. And, here you are in Japan going on some ride that thoroughly confused you, but it's still what you took away from it was, this is a different approach and it's working.
Right.
Like where do you see like ride systems and things like that going in the future? I mean, I obviously don't talk about any sort of projects you're working on. I don't, whatever. But like where what are the tea leaves telling you? Like as far as how they work?
I think it's really interesting. Like I said before, I've been spending a lot of time watching historical videos on roller coasters and all that stuff, Coney Island. I think definitely coaster parks have gone way far, right? They've really pushed things, and Tatsu, right? The idea of Tatsu is fantastic to me, right? Because I get to fly, and I'll just never forget because I'd never get my wife or my kids to go on a ride like that. But I've got one friend from college who he hates them, but he'll go to Magic Mountain with me occasionally, and we'll go do, he'll do the coasters with me, and he'll make it through like 3 or 4, and then he's done, right? So we'd already done the 3 or 4, and I'm like, I gotta ride Tatsu. So I get on Tatsu, and he went through the queue with me, and he just waited. He took the chicken lane, and but he's standing on the other side, and then he's like laughing at me as I'm being like pitched this way, and I'm like hanging down, looking at the ground, and that whole thing was like the most frightening thing to me, because I'm a big guy, and it's like I like holding on to like my horse collar, like if I'm on a looping coaster. There was nothing to hold on to on Tatsu. Like there was a little tiny grip, but like it like went up to here in my palm. So I did not feel in control. I did not feel stable. And I'm like, it's actually making it more scary than it needs to be. And, honestly, if I had a better grip, right, if they designed those seats a little bit differently, and if they had launched me, I would have loved that attraction, especially if they put it in a box and turned off the lights and had some start. That would have been amazing. But having that long clackety climb, looking down at people, it's like
as you pass the tree line, and all of a sudden you realize you're much higher than you thought you were. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like I think simplicity is key, right? I think Legoland does it well. I think it can be done well. I worked on upfront design on the Beauty and the Beast attraction for Tokyo Disneyland, and that's really interesting ride system, very similar to what we've done on attractions like Ratatouille and Mystic Manor. So the free ranging ride system, of course. And what I love about that is it treats you like a camera, right? Like in a film. And if you ever listen to Mark Davis talk about the Haunted Mansion, they storyboarded it like a film, right? And the OmniMover system, it allowed you to see what, they were able to point you like a camera. We can do that now with the free ranging ride systems fantastically. So
Rise of the Resistance.
Yes. Exactly. Right. Rise of the Resistance, that one as well. So I think dark rides, I think that's what people are going to expect, is that type of experience. However, can you just have a simple bus bar system? Absolutely. Right. Look at Peter Pan. Peter Pan is still one of the most, sought after attractions in all the Disney parks. There's always a line for it. I got to work on the one in Shanghai Disneyland. I was I was the animation supervisor on that. So directed all the sculpting, all the 2D animation that's in that. And it's like, we really pushed what you knew of Peter Pan from Walt Disney World and Disneyland. And I think we did bring it to another level on that attraction, and had a great team leading that. So, and of course they've already announced the Peter Pan attraction for Tokyo Disneysea. So did a little bit of work on that. But like that's going to be amazing. So, I think we have to not push people, people's bodies can only go so far, right? So I don't think we should do any more X2s or anything like that. I don't think flamethrowers, it's like at some point it becomes a torture device. So, yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. When it comes to theme parks, and a lot of times I think a crossover can exist. Like for example, an Incredicoaster and things like that. I think that crossover, it can be done really well. Tron Coaster is a great, example of this, where it's still a very thrilling ride, but it is, like you put it, it is simple. Here's what you remember from the movie. Let's put you inside the movie, you know, and thrill you like you were probably thrilled while watching it. but but it's not going to be something that you're going to come off and to be like, never again. It's, you know what I mean?
I know like the Tron team, they had a mock-up of that vehicle. They had it in the building where I was working on, Mystic Manor. And I remember walking by, and I'm the tallest guy in the building, and they're like, "Ethan, want to check this out?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I got in it. I sat down. They, the guys working on it, they asked me like, "How's this feel?" And I was able to give them my 2 cents, and they took it for what it was worth. And I've never heard anyone complain about that being uncomfortable. So I think that's a big thing. Yeah. It's like people just want to have a good time. No one wants to feel like they're it's like an old episode of Tiny Toons. It's like they went to the theme park or something, and it's like they had like a giant fly swatter, and it was just like, slap. And it's like, no, nobody wants that. It's funny to talk about, but I don't think that would ever make a great attraction, right?
That's so funny. But yeah, that's really good insight, because it just goes to show to the 2 different type of enthusiasts. The enthusiasts who want to have that magic moment, that experience, that feeling that will resonate, as they're writing it after, like I said, after you go home. If you're thinking about it after you've gone home, that's the type of experience that they're seeking. And then you have the thrill seekers, the crazy people who are like, get me on that fly swatter ride tomorrow. I would absolutely love that.
I think when you go to a park like Magic Mountain, all you have really is coaster, 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 coaster. You spend an entire day, they start blending together. If you want to have a nice meal, you don't have nothing but mashed potatoes, right? Correct. You want to have steak, you want to have dessert, you want to have different things to choose from. And I think the other amusement parks, they will do better if they put in more themed attractions, that tell a story. I have not been on the Justice League dark ride, but that seems like a good step, right?
I agree. You got to have that. You got to have, like, if we're going to do dinner again, your mashed potatoes, but what goes great with mashed potatoes? Peas. Everybody knows that peas goes great with mashed potatoes. Put in a little peas every now and then. Absolutely. Right. And I think Universal's going that way too. I think that they're kind of making that real good blend of having high thrill coasters and rides, but they are putting a lot of theming into them so they can have that magic, both worlds mesh, which I'm all for. You know what I mean? It's like
a year ago, my family and I, we went out to Walt Disney World, and we also went to Universal, and equal time. And we did Hagrid's, and it was the first summer, so we waited in a very long line. It was, it was a solid. I mean, it was way better than, I loved Dueling Dragons when I first went on it. Sure. I loved it, and I loved the queue for it. I thought it was one of the best queues I'd ever seen. And but then going on Hagrid's, it's like, well, I really liked the queue. Spent a little too much time in one spot of the queue, but things happen. But once I got on the ride experience, I enjoyed it. For me, I felt it was a little rough. It was a little too intense. And, and I say that as a father because I had, my son with me who doesn't like roller coasters. And some of those bank turns were just a little too much for him. And as a father, I'm, it's the whole Walt Disney thing. It's Daddy's Day at the park, right? It's like he wanted to make something that he can have fun with his family. And, if I had done that attraction, I would have been like, those banked curves, let's just tilt them this way a little bit more. Let's slow it down just a little bit. Let's get a little bit more time, with this character here. Because there's some great characters, Fluffy, the 3-headed dog. I mean, there's some wonderful moments in that attraction. And, I think, you said you haven't been to the, Hong Kong Disneyland yet, but I worked on Grizzly Gulch there. And that is a super fun coaster. It's also just smooth. It's a smooth coaster. It's a fun coaster. And we've got character moments in there, right? And, you know, it's like, it just is one of the most like solid Disney coaster experiences, because you get the thrill and you get the fun, you get the story, right?
Right.
Little baby bears trying to get the fish, plunges, he hits the TNT thing, makes you blast out of the thing, and then it becomes wild. And then, you know, there's a happy ending because Mama Bear and Baby Bear, they get what it's a happy ending. They get their fish at the end, right? So it's like, to me, I want coaster experiences like that do tell me a story. It doesn't have to be a deep story. It's like when we were designing Mystic Manor, we're not trying to tell a feature-length story, because you cannot tell a feature-length story in an attraction because you don't have people's attention long enough, right? You can tell a short story. So like when we were doing Mystic Manor, we kept looking back at the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. Really what that show is. Albert is Mickey. He's gotten into the hat.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Things happen, right? And he has to put it right in the end, right? The biggest difference between Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mystic Manor is Yensid comes in and fixes everything for Mickey. In Mystic Manor, Albert has to take it upon himself to shut the music box, to contain that music dust so it stops destroying the manor. You know, yes, the old man comes in, it's Lord Mystic, but he's a bumbling fool, right? He's not, you know, a wise old wizard. He's, he's Lord Mystic. He's, a guy who's gone around the world stealing things from other people's culture and putting it together.
Right. Well, I mean, the beginning and middle and end, that old adage, that if every ride can at least have that, start in the queue, maybe, as you're on the ride, and have I mean, I hate to go back to Rise of Resistance, but it seems like they've kind of nailed that storytelling, like as you're in the queue, they give you little pieces along the way. And so it's like, well, why just wait? Why not have the story be unfolding around you as you're waiting? And it keeps the audience engaged, and it has just a very satisfying ending. And like, yes, I mean, let's talk about the Ariel Little Mermaid ride. I mean, it's there it is. There's your story. It tells the entire story. And are there parts of the story missing? Yeah, but it's all there. Anybody who's a fan of the film, and even the people who don't know the film, will kind of go, oh yeah, I got it. And it's satisfying as you're stepping off the Omnimover. You're going, I'm not confused. It's absolutely.
And I think a big part, that helps us in that attraction is we bookended it with our narrator, right? We made Scuttle our narrator, and he starts it off. He recaps the story for you. You go under the sea. You see Ariel. Party's already happening. And it's like all these moments are happening at the same time, basically. You're not quite sure how long you're with Ursula in the lair, but she's turned Ariel into a human. So yeah, I mean, and that was a fantastic attraction to work on as well. I mean, they've all been great. I've loved every single one of them.
Yeah. Here's a fun thing. And if you're allowed, let me know, or wink if you can. What's a fun Easter egg in, like Ariel or some other ride that maybe not everybody knows about that you can point out?
Okay, so in Monsters at California Adventure, the CDA agents all have numbers on their uniforms.
Yeah.
Those numbers are special dates to people who, core team members who worked on the project. So the guy who, I think he's the first guy you see, he's holding like the vacuum cleaner thing, and he's doing this, formerly known as Tim Allen. He has my wife and I's wedding date.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So other people have birthdays, their kids' birth dates of birth. So I have the list still. There's also Roz, which was our first interactive audiomatronic figure. I animated her, and again, I was the production designer on that show, so I had art direct the figure. Her clipboard, there is a piece of paper that has everybody's name who worked on the attraction, and there's a little check if they are, good monsters or bad monsters.
That's awesome. So all you viewers now, when you ride that ride again, well, first look for the portrait of Mr. Waternoose, and then check out the clipboard at the very end with Roz. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out? That kid who gets off Splash Mountain, that kid who's just ridden Mystic Manor, and is just wanting to go that direction. What advice could you give that individual who wants to go down the path that you have?
I think it is, it's what brings you joy in the attraction. Maybe the ride system brings you joy. So, you want to become a ride engineer, or you like the audio, right? You like how the audio was mixed. And, I've worked with audio mixers every single continent, that Disney has a park on, and they're great. And, mixing audio in an attraction is very different than a film, because you've got people who are screaming and talking throughout the attraction, and you also have ride vehicle noise, and all that has to be balanced. And we've got, fantastic guys, who do this stuff. And, so find what it is that you're passionate about. And then what you need to do is become really good at that thing, right? So if audio is your passion, if painting is your passion, if, you love how roller coasters work, if that's your passion, find out what are the things you need to study in college to become that roller coaster designer, and then become really, really good, and just be happy and positive, and just keep pushing, and happen.
That's so amazing. Well, we are certainly glad that you took those steps and of that advice, and that you've been able to bring joy to so many enthusiasts around the world that don't realize it was you that brought them joy. So I'm glad to, at least with our audience, have you on, get your point of view of things and your background. And I've certainly enjoyed it. John, I'm stoked to have you on as a guest. And we really appreciate you coming on and explain, and sharing your journey. And, like I said, the behind the scenes and the fun, all the fun and hard work and creativity that goes into it. I think that's a really important part of being an enthusiast, is just don't ever forget the creativity side of it. Yes, it's all math and all numbers and all crazy electronics and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we got to be creative, and that creativity can foster just amazing things. So very last question before we sign out.
Yeah.
Once coronavirus has been safe and everything is safe and open, what is your first ride?
Oh, geez. My first ride. I'm going to say Calico Mine Train.
Look at you. Awesome. Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Because I need to see it. And I'm just excited about Knott's Berry Farm. I need my boysenberry punch. I need some Mrs. Knott's fried chicken. So it's what I need. So, and I just, the whole, the guy, Bud Holdberg, right? The guy who designed all that stuff. It's like he built all that stuff, right? He funded it himself. I mean, that's amazing to me. So I cannot wait to go on that with my kids. And can't wait to go back to Disneyland. Can't wait to go back to, California Adventure. I've been on those rides lots of times. I really want to see some of the things I haven't seen, if that makes sense.
Sure. For sure. And if you ever want to come up to Magic Mountain, if that opens sometime soon, Come be our guest. I guess basically we're neighbors again. It's a running joke here on Theme Park ERT. I'm neighbors with everybody. So just call me Mr. Rogers. I don't know what's going on. So come on out to the park. We'll show you a good time. We'll wave to Tatsu and be like, we see you. Not today. We'll go on.
I'd go on Tatsu again.
Okay, we'll go on Tatsu together. And we got to ride West Coast Racers because it's the first roller coaster at Magic Mountain to sort of have a story. Like we talked about, it sort of has a story. Sort of. I'm going to just say sort of. But it's great.
Is Gold Rusher still there?
Gold Rusher's there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's there. Gold Rusher's there. We'll ride Gold Rusher till we puke. It'll be awesome.
That's a great attraction. And which came first, Big Thunder or Gold Rusher?
Ooh, probably Gold Rusher. And speaking of Aero Mine Trains, I got an opportunity. I know this is a tangent, but I was down at Six Flags over Texas that had the very first mine train ever, and it was closed. But I did get to ride the very first log flume ride, which is a Spanish name that I can't even pronounce. But that was the first log ride by Aero. So very exciting, very exciting. So the grandfather of Timber Mountain Log Ride, the grandfather of Splash Mountain. So there you go. But Ethan, seriously, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? Are you on social media? Why don't you throw out your social medias?
I'm on Instagram at ethan.f.reed on Instagram, and that's where you can find me. And I try to post a drawing a day. Sometimes I'll post a photo, like I think yesterday for Labor Day, a picture of me in my hard hat at the site for Seven-Doors Mine Train. So that was fun. So yeah, it's always fun. And I think later today, I'm probably going to post a how to draw gelatoni video. People were requesting that. So I'm like, I'll do that. It sounds like fun.
Well, go check them out. Go give them a follow. Go give them a like. Go give them a comment over there on Instagram. And if you also want to come and continue to check us out on Instagram, you can check us out at theme_park_ERT on Instagram. You can also reach out. And also, if you know any enthusiasts or anybody else that would like to be on a show, let us know. Hit us up. And again, huge thanks to Ethan Reed. Just an amazing, amazing guest. We appreciate you. And so on behalf of Ethan, John Dayskin Blaze, and myself, the ambassador, this has been your Theme Park ERT.